Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 4 of Wrestling with Kayfabe. Your boy Papa Schro here with DEJ.
That's right.
Our heel host. This week, we are talking about Survivor Series.
Not any Survivor Series, but the 2002 first ever Elimination Chamber Survivor Series. Which I've seen a couple people review, and I thought, that's a good idea. So we'll do that too.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite Survivor Series all time, I think. Definitely when we were, just nostalgia when we were growing up. This is, the culmination kind of everything with this time period anyways, just with the Attitude Era, the Monday Night War, everything, coming together with, by this time, really all of the WCW stars have now been involved, right? Or is this right before the NWO? I guess this is definitely before Goldberg. So I guess we haven't really seen any, true WCW stars yet.
This was before... Or no. Was it after the NWO? Because
NWO would have been the year before the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble is when they debuted, I want to say. No Way Out. No Way Out, yeah. Before WrestleMania 18.
Mm-hmm. So this would have been WrestleMania 19?
Would have been the next WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think so. Well, we're going to have to look this up now. I'm going to have to scroll. Either way, this is, we were just talking before we got on here off air, that this is a very fun time period in wrestling, I think. I think this is really one of the best time frames. The roster is just insane at that point. Even before any of the WCW, big stars got there, of course, they... Yes, this would have been the WrestleMania right before 19. Yeah. So we have seen the NWO at this point.
Yeah.
But I guess I forgot where I was going with that exactly. But just the roster even before the WCW stars got there. I mean, just having all of those, really good mid-carders come over. DDP went ahead and came over. Obviously, that was botched insanely, but regardless, there's a lot of talent. And a lot of talent that had already come over from WCW. Jericho, the Radicals, guys like that had already come over.
Yeah.
So, really exciting time. I think a really good card. This is obviously post the first initial WWE draft. Bischoff is the general manager of Raw. And I think Vince is still... At this point,
if they had 2 world titles, it would have been Stephanie.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They showed her in the opening video package. Yeah, so Stephanie is the general manager for SmackDown. Again, Bischoff on Raw, and I guess we'll just go right into it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the first match of the night, we have the Dudleys minus Devon add Jeff Hardy in an interesting twist.
Yeah, I don't remember why Jeff Hardy got added to this. I think it probably had something to do with 3-minute warning and messing with him as well.
Yeah, I think that was the whole storyline was originally they were targeting the Dudleys and then Hardy. Maybe vice versa, but basically they were all getting messed with by 3-minute warning around the time. I remember... as a kid liking, not liking 3-minute warning, but at the same time, I don't know, I understood what they were, and they were good at just being that dominating heel and just coming in. I liked when Bischoff would use them. I did enjoy that because that was just such a, dirty tactic of, and then when he would look to his watch and say, I think it's been about 3 minutes, and then they pop out and destroy whoever he's talking with.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you got the culmination of Umaga out of this,
Mm-hmm.
With what was his name in 3 Minute Warning?
Jamal and Rosie.
Yeah.
Jamal.
Yeah. Jeff Hardy
That was
just
a botch.
attempted it. Yeah. Which, I mean, that was a good cover for a botch.
Mm-hmm. Came off the top rope on a crossbody and just... I guess more that was more Rosie, really, than Hardy.
Yeah.
Didn't catch him. Jamal and Rosie, though, are with Rico, who was just the manager of Billy and Chuck right before this, and then moved on with them. Because 3 Minute Warning attacked him during their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. And Spike Dudley is the other Dudley with... I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yeah.
But we got Spike Dudley in this match with Jeff Hardy and Bubba Ray.
I never understood Rico's character very much. Oh, there goes Spike.
Spike is fun to watch, man.
Yeah, he was. Well,
He's not afraid to take any bump. So Spike is the first one eliminated. We're currently watching this right now.
It's interesting to watch how they booked this match, because you get rid of Spike, and then you put Bubba Ray and Jeff Hardy together, but you would instantly think that's a bigger advantage to 3 Minute Warning. And I think that's why they booked it like that, because they've never teamed together. But yeah, I've never understood that. Like I was saying, I've never understood Rico's role in almost anything he's done other than being a manager.
Yeah, I feel you, because there was definitely a weird point, like, right around this time, I guess, where it's like, you didn't... I feel you, because I didn't really understand either. Is he a wrestler? Is he a manager? I mean, I guess you could say that for a lot of people, but... I like the ode to Matt kind of right there that Bubba Ray just played as he got down so Jeff could jump off his back.
Right. And I feel like this whole match was booked pretty well. Because, I mean, anytime Hardy tried to get momentum, they'd get stopped just by the big physical. You don't really see that anymore. You don't really see the bigger physical guys carry most of the offense against a smaller guy like you used to for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a fairy tale booking now instead of a sports booking, at least in WWE. But I mean, this was brilliantly. I think Hardy's going to do that famous jump off from the crowd to the table on the concrete.
Yeah, and the setup for this I really liked, and it reminds you of Royal Rumble. I can't think of what year that was. 2000? Yeah, the Royal Rumble 2000. It reminds you of that, but kind of an updated version of that with the LED screen. As a kid, I thought this was maybe the coolest setup.
Right.
Of a pay-per-view, just because you had those two LED boards that they pushed through and came out of. You know, one thing that always really I never understood is the wrestling video games. Why could they never get down a Madison Square Garden arena?
I don't know.
I guess the only one was No Mercy, because they got the Royal Rumble 2000 pretty good.
Yeah.
They got the little small entrance set up, but I don't know what it is with the game that maybe it was just too difficult to fit in a smaller, area, and Jeff hits the swanton out of the rafters. But I never understood that, because I remember being excited to play this venue on, I want to say this was SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, when that came out. One of the greatest wrestling video games of all time. Spent many, many, many hours playing.
Yeah, that was a good game.
And I remember it being a generic SmackDown with no fist.
Yeah.
And just being a green, thinking like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you could only play the Elimination Chamber match at that venue.
That's right, I remember that. That was weird.
Mm-hmm. Man, that was such a good game. I remember just beating the crap out of people with Brock Lesnar all the time.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to do.
Right? It was one of my favorite things to do back when
that
we
was
had the...
interesting. I don't know why they chose to do that, but Rico just randomly lost his balance on the top rope, but they moved the table so that there was no table bump.
Yeah, and to keep him in it.
Mm-hmm. You know, if you told me that Jamal was going to be Umaga, however many years later, I think 3 years later, 4 years later, something like that, you know, it would have been a little harder to believe, and he played that character well.
Umaga?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Super athletic. He's probably faster as Umaga than he was here with Jamal, and I think this is where Hardy gets the table hurled at him. Yeah, and he slipped too.
Yeah.
So there was nothing to brace him for that. So you know that fucking hurt.
Yeah, he smacked him right over the head with the thing.
That's the other thing I liked about 3 Minute Warning is they looked like everything they did hurt.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, obviously that was Hardy's fault, but he just went through it anyway.
Yeah, it didn't look good. It did not look fun at all.
No.
So I don't think they're counting that as him going
didn't.
through a table.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I remember that.
Yeah, Jamal later to be Umaga, I think is, like you said, if you told me during this match this dude was going to be some killer later on with the face paint and all that, I would have been shocked. And seeing this dude fly is insane.
It was Hardy. Yeah, that was wild.
The big splash off the top rope.
Yeah.
To the outside of the ring. I mean, that's a big body.
Yeah.
And Hardy took all that.
Yeah, he did.
350, they say. I don't know if he's 350. But he could be, though.
It's pretty big.
He's a pretty big boy.
That's pretty big. And who knows how tall he is.
Right.
I mean, it's probably pretty close. But yeah, his whole run with John Cena in the main event, coming from a random tag team just a couple of years ago, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment in your own right.
And I think that, you were legitimately fearful of the spike. The Samoan spike. That was a deadly move. And I like the pairing. I can't remember dude's name right now. His manager?
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was.
Because do you remember Rodney Mack? He would have been right around this time. And they had the Mack challenge or whatever it was, and you had to beat him, and or you couldn't. He would win a match in like 5 minutes or something, and they had a little streak going with him where they would throw like 5 minutes up on the clock, and usually he would take out, some poor mid-carder.
Right. That
did not pan out.
No.
Because that's the only reason I remember Rodney Mack. I think he's only on like one game. I remember him being on one game, whatever it was. It might have been this one. SmackDown Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah, I don't even remember him that well.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I barely remember him. I just remember I was watching heavily around that time. And then I think he had like a little thing with Jazz. But
now, you've got, I think this is where Devon comes out and helps Bubba Ray win this match.
Yeah, and that's a moment right there. Because at this point, when Devon got drafted, he went over to SmackDown and became Reverend Devon.
Right.
With Deacon Batista.
Yeah, they were interviewing Batista about that, and he said, I fucking hated that thing. Here he comes. Here comes Devon. But he said, I hated that thing. It was so heavy. They chained that briefcase to his neck, basically, and just had to carry him around. He said it was heavy and it was pointless. It made no sense.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So Devon has come in and cleared house. And the energy in Madison Square Garden is different.
You know what would have made Devon a more believable turn is if he turns on Bubba here.
That would have been kind of great.
Because you already knew what you were going to do with him. And the match was over. They've just won. But you already knew what you were going to do with him. So why not just have him turn?
Right.
Or even help him win and then have him turn. I don't know. I guess that's, Monday morning quarterbacking. But and that to me would make more sense. But now that the match was over, I'll give it a 2 3/4 out of 5, maybe 3. And it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
I'll go along with that and give it a 3 for... 1, it was tables match. 2, I might be giving it a higher rate. Like, really, all of these matches I might give a higher rating just because it's nostalgia, really. Mm-hmm. I own this DVD as a kid, and I've seen this event a lot and enjoy it. But the pop for Devon at the end really gives it just... And I think, Jeff botched a few times, but I think that, that doesn't take anything away from it, really, just because of who he is.
Who knows what kind of things he could have been on during that match.
Which might be more impressive than the couple of botches. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Okay. So
but now we moved on to Billy Kidman and Jamie Noble.
For the Cruiserweight Championship.
I mean, obviously people who have watched wrestling in the past 3 or 4 years know Jamie Noble from J&J Security for Seth Rollins, but people forget how good of a wrestler Jamie Noble was.
Absolutely.
Especially, obviously, being Cruiserweight, but he was a fantastic wrestler.
This run is my favorite, too. I really enjoyed this whole heel... kind of white trash gimmick with him and Nydia, and he's got ripped up jean shorts he's wrestling. I just thought that he played this character and this little Weasley heel so good, and then with Nydia with him, which Nydia was one of the original Tough Enough winners. Yeah. And how she got into this whole role. And Kidman will forever be... one of my favorite wrestlers. I loved Kidman in WCW. I was a WCW kid. And, him, Rey Mysterio, Conan, all those guys, I really enjoyed them there towards the end of WCW.
Yeah, Billy Kidman was, 1, a super big cruiserweight. And 2, he flew around like a guy who's 150 pounds. And he's probably... allegedly in that cruiserweight weight.
205.
But I doubt it. He's probably pushing 215 right here, 220.
For sure.
He's probably, 6 foot?
Yeah, right around there.
So he's probably pushing 220.
Which, I think ever since the angle they did with... Do you remember the angle with Matt Hardy trying to make weight? Yeah. I really liked that. I wish that they would maybe do some stuff like that more often, especially with the cruiserweights, and I think could get the cruiserweights kind of back. Just something to add to it, essentially. Yeah. But I remember as a kid thinking I didn't like the trunks look from Kidman. I was always used to seeing, wife beater and jean shorts. I guess, though, especially in this match, you can't really pull that off because they're going to look too similar. Yeah. With Noble just wearing the jean shorts.
A lot of impressive transitions there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And the work rate from both of these men, is absolutely wonderful. And one thing I wanted to mention is both of these dudes are still super involved with the product today.
2 high producers in the back. I'm not sure if they do both shows or not. But, yeah, they're both higher up there producers. They've both been there since. I doubt either of them quit. They just stopped in ring performing.
Right. Yeah, I think they both.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You don't really see that anymore. That was basically a falcon arrow from the top rope, face first. Well, I guess you see Rollins pull that out every now and then. That was more of a face Rollins instead of a heel Rollins.
That reminded me of Edge's old finisher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good work from both of them right here. And like I said, both of these dudes, I really enjoyed watching both of them wrestle. And the whole cruiserweight division, I mean, it's been definitely lost in translation to WWE versus like what WCW did with the cruiserweight division back in the day. And
well, the cruiserweight division then, or now currently, as we're watching it, was just another title. It wasn't so much a division.
True.
But it was meant for smaller guys, obviously. But this, it's good. Nadia's involvement was good, but it seems like it's getting a little too much in that aspect. And she's been involved in almost every angle. But here comes Kidman's finish right here. God, that's beautiful.
Really? He's the first person I ever saw do a shooting star press, too.
Yeah. And that was it.
That will forever be synonymous with Kidman to me. And didn't he cut his hair off right after this?
I think
so. Not too long after this?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember that being really weird. I'm just thinking who is this dude?
Yeah. And then they had a couple of years later, before they kind of dumped the old cruiserweight look, what was his name? Kid Cash? Something like that. He was good. I liked Kid Cash a lot. And then Gregory Helms, when he became Gregory Helms, and not the Hurricane. This match was good. And really fast pace. Something you don't really see anymore. Just high impact the whole time. I don't think they hit a single hold the whole match. I think it was just,
transition after transition.
Yeah. I'd give this one a 3.5.
I was going to do the same. Yeah. I want to give it a 4, but I think realistically 3.5 is probably perfect for this match.
Then Kurt Angle doing his comedy bits here. Oh, and then that one guy that nobody can really talk about anymore.
Are we allowed to mention him?
Well, I will, but I mean, he's talking to, for those who I'm sure who know what he's talking about, he's talking to Chris Benoit. Then that was kind of the end of that. But Women's Championship in Victoria, who, this was a really good run from her.
Absolutely.
As just being insane.
Yeah, I think this is her best, gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% familiar with her work and Impact and stuff. I know she did some good stuff over there, but I definitely, when I think of Victoria, I think of crazy Victoria.
Right.
She definitely had a great run, and she's facing Trish Stratus for the women's title in a hardcore match.
Yeah, and Trish, this was kind of the start of Trish Stratus's. She was still a face at the time. To me, I don't think her career took off until she became a heel. In that aspect, she was over as a face, but
that next level.
To next level to me is when the big time Trish and Lita rivalry started in 03-ish, 04. That was probably the best Trish Stratus WWE had.
I agree. Isn't it to me it's really interesting to see almost the dynamic to become a real star, superstar. Because really from 90s on, if you think about it, every mega star became a heel to turn them into the mega star, essentially. Right. Like Stone Cold, The Rock, Lesnar, Trish, there's so many people that's really what propelled them. What it's going to do for Roman Reigns.
Right. I mean, that was... We were talking about something else here, but that was impressive. They were wrestling with the broom.
Yeah, that was a really cool spot.
And Victoria rolls back over and starts showing... I mean, this was a really good era of in-ring psychology by WWE.
I agree.
I don't know where they lost it, but this was probably... And just how she's, pulling her up with the broom at the top rope, and Trish is, frantic trying to get away from her and using the broom as leverage. It's just really good. And I like how they have the 4 trash cans tied around her. You don't see that anymore. And you don't... Yeah, that's perfect. And you don't see, divas beat the shit out of each other anymore either. Except for Bayley Sasha, which was great.
Well, it's definitely made a comeback. I was just about to say, like, with this is really, like, to me, I think the golden age of women's wrestling. Just and I just mean that as in, because right now, obviously, you would say it's probably the golden age for women's wrestling. Right. But I just mean that, Jesus. Man, and this match just shows it. This time period, and this is before the divas got the women got the love. This is the diva era, and for them to have some of the talent that they had, Lita, Trish, Victoria. Earlier I mentioned Jazz. She was really good. Molly Holly. But some of the talent that they had, I mean, this was really... I just say golden age because, this is like before the women's revolution that they went through, and it was still insanely good in-ring wrestling. Right.
I'd call this the golden age. I'd call the current female product a platinum age. I think that is better. But this kind of set it, and
they're treated a lot better.
Right.
There was never going to be a Trish Lita main event of a pay-per-view.
Oh, Jesus.
I think they did main event Raw.
They did, yeah. And that was a huge thing.
But, they were never going to headline a pay-per-view.
No.
But yeah, all of this and the hardcore stipulation has just added such a dynamic to this match, and I think it's perfect for the storytelling of the match, with Victoria kind of being a crazy person and Trish having to do whatever she can do to get this crazy woman to stop coming at her. Now she's got a ironing board.
I mean, we've got...
There's some very subtle...
Yeah, we've got a little bit of sexism. But
but even in that, like, the difference between now and then, like, if there was a Divas hardcore match, I definitely wouldn't be pulling out brooms and ironing boards.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Good weapons for a match, though.
Right.
I will have to say.
They're using them very unfeminine-like. And
there's a kendo stick. Yeah. I miss WCW hardcore matches when it was like Raven or something, and he would come with a shopping cart full of just crap.
Yeah, I remember that. And he did that when he was in WWF too.
Yeah.
And when they had those... One of my favorite matches of all time is that hardcore... was it Scramble?
At WrestleMania 2000?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite matches ever. But here comes... Trisha's going to pull up here on the top rope. And
nice.
And that's a beautiful execution. And Victoria's just eating these lid shots.
Yeah, and she's busted open. Her nose is bleeding. I guess she's not busted open, but her nose is bleeding. That's one of my favorite moves that Trish pulls off, is the kind of cartwheel to the leg scissors when there's a girl on the top rope. And that's how that all started. Victoria caught her, and then she grabbed the trash can lid that was underneath and smacked her over the head with it. But I always thought that was a really cool move. Shows her athleticism. Let's see, what are they going to grab now? A mirror.
And that's really good character work by Victoria. Seeing that she's hurt, and it freaks her out, and everything she did during this run was perfect.
And I think it goes back to like what you were saying about the psychology of WWE at the moment. Very good psychology, very good in-ring, work.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, she took 2 chick kicks and stood it, and then, that's wild.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, that was an awful transition to a bulldog there.
I don't think that was planned.
I don't think so either. No. Absolutely. I remember watching this match as a kid and being surprised that the women were having a hardcore match.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't think there were some in the Attitude Era.
I think that there probably was. I think that they, on the broadcast, say that this is the first one for a women's championship.
Yeah. And then she's going to use the fire extinguisher here, and I think she hits a Widow's Peak and beats her.
Yeah, I think this is the finish. I think that Victoria does go over here.
Or suplex. That's such a weak finish. For such a good match. I mean, I understand. God, she just smacks the shit out of her head on that trash can.
She's falling backwards in amazement that she won the title and hit her head on the trash can. That's great. Yeah, I think all together, I like this match.
I guess in literal terms it makes sense just because he probably wouldn't be able to breathe being sprayed by a fire extinguisher very well. So, I mean, it makes sense. I think a bigger ending would have made the match better. I'd give it a 3.
I'm actually going to go down on this one to a 2. I'm going to say 2 just because there were some moments that were iffy. The finish, with it being a snap suplex, was a little tough, but really good work. The mirror thing that we talked about, of her seeing herself in the mirror.
And, the psychology in the match was enough to give it a 3 for me. But I mean, theoretically wise, I see that.
I think that's fair.
Lesnar show now. Yeah.
Yes, the next match is Brock Lesnar and the Big Show. This one is, man, what a moment here, and I guess we'll talk about it after the match, but I don't know if they did the right thing here. In general,
I don't really know either, but we'll get to that when we get to it a bit.
Coming into the match, the whole story is that Lesnar last month at Hell in a Cell faced the Undertaker in the Hell in a Cell. He beats the Undertaker barely. He's bloodied, bruised, battered. Paul Heyman doesn't want him to take on the Big Show. Doesn't think he can handle it after he just went through hell and back with the Undertaker in Hell in a Cell, and now he wants Paul Heyman doesn't want Lesnar to face the Big Show. Lesnar wants to face the Big Show.
Here comes the pain.
Here comes the pain. And I'm pretty sure, so he still has broken ribs in this match.
Yeah. And
I almost want to say he has a knee injury.
He might. But which WWE does not do anymore. They don't really focus on past injuries.
Yeah. But they don't also really let guys work like that hurt.
Right. Oh, he actually has broken ribs.
Yes, he literally has broken ribs.
Well, Brock Lesnar would have a broken arm and still wrestle.
I mean, that's absolutely true.
I don't think you could have told him anything different.
Could you imagine this Brock Lesnar in the UFC? Because, this is a lean Brock Lesnar. This is not the Brock Lesnar of today. This is not huge, he's huge, don't get me wrong, but he is, he's young, he's different.
He's probably 240 right here. He's not 285.
They announced him at 295.
They announced him at 295. It's 295 here. I don't believe that.
I don't really believe it either.
That now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I doubt he's probably more 250 right here.
But just imagine how much, more fast he would have been. And this is 02?
02, yeah.
UFC heavyweights would not stand a chance against this man, probably. I don't know who the champion is at the time in the UFC, but either way, Lesnar broken ribs, and just knowing that and watching this is some of the stuff is difficult to watch. And this is classic Paul Heyman with the ponytail and the Yankees hat.
Yeah, that was kind of the... And, oh, Jesus. Just to take that bump and okay.
Right.
And he took that rip shot into the post outside the ring. I mean, to tell him to do that is absurd. I mean, you're out of your mind.
Even just in the corner, when Brock is hanging out in the corner and Big Show runs and splashes him in the corner. Fuck that.
And picking him up, I mean, this is a 500-pound man. And he's picking him up, and you know he didn't move for a month after this match. There's just no way.
Yeah, and I think this is... They might have wrote him off right after this.
And
for a little bit.
They had to. I mean, he wasn't going to... And this had to take a lot out of him. It probably broke more ribs, honestly, because, I mean, look at that. A German suplex. That's absurd.
I've had badly bruised ribs before, and I wouldn't have wrestled a match.
You can barely breathe.
I couldn't imagine with a fractured rib.
Wrestle a 500-pound man and toss him over your head. I mean, Brock Lesnar is... And then picking him up... Well, he didn't pick him up there. And taking a knee and taking more knees. I mean...
The Brock ducks under a clothesline, comes off the ropes, and just chucks the ref.
Bellies. I think that also shows, real quick, how much impact Brock Lesnar has against a man that does not work out or is an athlete. And he just flings out of the ring.
Heyman starts towards the end of the match now, throws a chair in the ring.
Do you think Heyman called this on the fly? Because I feel like they wanted this match to go longer.
I don't know. No, not necessarily. Big Show punches the chair and then takes a chair shot to the head.
And an over the head F5. That's just crazy.
Absolutely.
And here comes the referee.
New official from the back.
1, 2. Uh-oh.
Heyman pulls him out of the ring and decks him over the head. And loses his hat in the process. That's great.
Yeah, I don't... Paul Heyman's now officially turned on Brock Lesnar, right? Paul Heyman's visuals are always so good.
Yeah, they really are.
And Brock Lesnar's an underrated seller.
Absolutely.
I think he's one of the better sellers in wrestling.
Well, and when Brock wants to show up, like nowadays, when Brock wants to show up, man, Brock...
Yeah.
Oh, man. So he takes a chair shot to the gut, then one right over the top of the back just to make sure. And we're going to get a choke slam to the chair. And I think that's that. And we get the official rolled in by Heyman. Interesting match all in all. I'm not too big on this match. I'm going to say a 1.5 stars. I'll give it out of 5.
Yeah. I'll give it a 2.5. I mean, obviously Lesnar's injury made this match go way shorter than it should have.
I think the character work is what gives me,
the
1.5. I think the in-ring wasn't great. It was, some brawling back and forth. We got an F5. We got a choke slam. I thought the punch to the chair to block that was interesting. But Paul Heyman really helps make this match. Paul Heyman is just, he is definitely of our time, our generation, the wrestling mind.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, there were some things on Raw that I didn't like when he controlled Raw.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there weren't going to be a lot of things. Oh, could that Dawn Marie angle with what was it, Tori Wilson's dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Very weird. We get a shot of them in the crowd as the triple threat tag team match is getting ready to commence. We get Los Guerreros coming out first. This match right here, the SmackDown 6, I mean, man, I remember this match. And for some reason, like, until I watched this a few weeks ago, I thought this was the match that kicked it off. But that's just a memory I have. I think just because this match is so damn good, really.
Right.
I mean, I just remembered it going on first.
Then you got Chris Benoit. I know it's sacrilege to say these days, but whatever happened. Whatever, no one really knows. I don't think no one will ever really know what happened. But god damn it, he was one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, growing up, Benoit was definitely one of my favorite wrestlers.
I didn't really like the early 2000 Kurt Angle. I liked when he got into SmackDown a little later on down the road, like 04, 05, when Cena was there.
Yeah.
Because that's when you got the wrestling machine Kurt Angle. I think that was a better character than what he was trying to carry over from the Attitude Era. It may have just been that his character got a little tired. Because it was the same character for so long.
Yeah.
And he's good at it, but,
Absolutely. I did really enjoy the rivalry with Edge, that he lost his hair.
Mm-hmm.
And his work around that time was really, really good, having the fake hair with the...
Oh, that was funny.
That was great with the wrestling headgear. Edge is now entering the ring as he slides in, looks directly at Angle.
This was
Mysterio?
Edge Mysterio, yeah.
Yeah.
This was kind of the beginning of Edge being noticed as a guy who's on the upcoming.
Absolutely.
He wins the tag titles with Mysterio, and then he kind of goes on from there, but when he got moved to Raw in 04 or 05.
Somewhere around in there. Because he was out for a year with the neck injury at some point.
And he came back, and he got booed by, I think, in Ontario.
Really?
I think so.
I don't remember that.
And then that's when he turned heel and was against, I think he speared Shawn Michaels on Raw.
Interesting. Well, when does the Matt Hardy storyline all fit in there? I thought that's when he turned heel.
No, he'd already been heel. I think that was
That would have been right around probably 05.
05, because it was... Well, it's whenever Lita cheated on him in real life.
Right,
but,
right.
I think it was 05. And by the way, that is such a man-up thing to do by Matt Hardy. Just say, fuck it. Let's do it on TV.
Facts.
And
the fact that he, he let him go over, he did the job.
Yeah.
That is the craziest part to me, is that Matt did the job. Like, I feel like that, you can say whatever you want, and, about Matt going on and on about it everywhere, and yada, 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 but I think that speaks professionalism right there, because,
he knew that Edge was the next guy.
Right. And Edge was the bigger star, and, yeah.
And, obviously, no one knows what relationships are like outside of the people that are in them. But it seemed like to me that I think they both knew that their relationship maybe wasn't the best anyway.
Right.
So who knows? We're not going to talk about it, but it was a very big tip of the cap to Matt Hardy to do that for Edge when he certainly didn't have to. Or want to, probably. But
absolutely, yeah. I highly doubt that he wanted to. And this match here, like, I think that, man, it was so smart to do all of this and just throw these guys in tag teams. And I think the way that they worked it was so smart. Obviously, you have the Guerreros. But with Mysterio and Edge teaming and Angle and Benoit, I think with Angle and Benoit, like, they're, you know, the wrestling machines. And, you know, like you said, it's a little bit before, you know, that actual character work. But,
Right.
I mean, you know, he's an Olympic freaking gold medalist.
Right. Oh, Jesus.
That was an
That
awful
was a mistake.
botch.
Mysterio smacked his neck on the mat.
Yeah, Mysterio comes running in. Angle throws him up for him to sit on the top rope, like catch himself essentially.
And that's when you know Kurt Angle was kind of a dick. Because he just stepped on his head a couple times.
Right.
But Kurt was also, I think, well, I don't know if he was going through his pain pill situation now or not. It may have been later on.
Yeah, I think this is like right before it because WrestleMania 19 against Brock that would be the next WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was
pretty sure that he had a broken neck for that match.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that WWE 24 or whatever it was on him? Because it was really good. It was
on
really
Kurt?
interesting. Yeah.
No, I think I missed it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, because they talk about it, and I think even Dixie Carter's in it.
She might be
talking about him and, you know, being in TNA. He had a really good run in TNA.
He did. I liked the Main Event Mafia.
Uh-huh.
His work with Sting as a team, kind of. Well, not a team, but as allies.
Right.
Well, then I guess as a team in the Main Event Mafia.
Yeah. Him against Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
There's some really good matches there.
Him and AJ.
Yeah.
I mean, TNA had a chance to be phenomenal. No pun intended, but...
Absolutely their golden era right around there. I think
they just missed.
Absolutely. I think if it wasn't for Hogan and Bischoff, low-key, they would have been a lot better off. And the move to Monday night.
I think Bischoff would have been fine.
Yeah, I agree. Hogan...
I think bringing Hogan in was kind of... Because I know Bischoff gets blamed for having an older mind in wrestling, but I mean, when's the last time Hulk Hogan had a new idea?
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of Bischoff's biggest setbacks is he's very good friends with Hulk Hogan.
Right.
You know, I think that's a lot of it, honestly, because Hogan is just, I mean, outside of past like 90, like by the 90s, I mean, until the New World Order, I mean, like, I don't know. And especially later on, just all the politicking and stuff like that, it's, man.
But Kurt Angle is doing his intensity bit as always, but God, that man was intense in the ring.
Yeah, he really was.
There's so many interviews. I've always enjoyed WWE's Table for Three. I've always liked that. And they had, I think it was Kurt, Shane, it may have been AJ.
Okay.
It may have been AJ, I can't remember, but Shane was talking about, or it may have been Bruce Pritchard.
Okay.
One of them. But Shane was talking about how in their No Way Out match in 02? Was it 02? Or no, King of the Ring match.
Yeah, that probably would have been like 2000, 2001-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, Kurt still had hair, that's right.
God.
And they just, that match was so brutal. For those who remember, Kurt Angle had to suplex Shane McMahon through glass, but they'd forgotten that it was real glass. That it wasn't pane glass or breakaway glass, because they were afraid it would break during the pyro before the show. So they replaced it with real glass and forgot to switch it back after the pyro. So Kurt takes Shane over there and belly to bellies him and Shane just smacks his whole body against the glass.
And lands on his fucking
lands
head.
on his head.
That might be maybe one of the worst spots I've like in wrestling to watch, just for how hard he hits his head on the concrete.
Yeah. And Kurt was talking about it at the table for 3. He said, Shane, we're going to do this again. And Shane said, do it, bitch. And so Kurt did it again. And I don't think it broke the second time.
I think it took 3 tries, yeah.
3 tries. And Kurt was like, we need to stop. And Shane's like, fucking do it. And so Shane McMahon is a madman.
He really is.
And so Kurt finally gets him through because it'll piss Kurt off. And Edge, we're getting a little off track, but Edge goes on a hot tag here and wipes out everybody. And then on the way back through, because they have to do it again, I think Kurt has to throw Shane through twice to get him through again.
Okay, then I think what happened was he misses the first one, sends him through, then on the second one they have to do it twice also. Yeah. I think is how that worked.
Yeah. Here comes Edge with his hot tag. Angle misses the... And this was a cool spot. This is a crossface ankle lock.
Yeah, that was here. Cool.
You got Mysterio on the save. This match was kind of slow, but it's probably 6 of the best in-ring wrestlers, debatably ever.
Absolutely, in the work, in the match.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I forgot, this is still like, I don't want to say like young Eddie, but I mean young Eddie. Like, he's still got the mullet, the long mullet going on. He's got the classic Latino heat trunks on. And that was also, like, now we're getting into some really good spots. Eddie jumps off the top rope to do a sunset flip on Benoit, who has Edge in a German. So it's a sunset flip into a German suplex. Sends Eddie out of the ring. Now the 3 German suplexes from Benoit, the originator of Suplex City.
That's true, he was, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
About that.
I think Benoit's going to go for the diving headbutt here.
I never understood the diving headbutt.
But a frog splash first.
And then this was an elimination match, wasn't it?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Benoit hits the save with a diving headbutt. We get a...
Guerrero gets angle slammed.
Angle slam, right. Straps come down.
Both finishers.
Yeah, Edge has got the crossface on him. Eddie's got the ankle lock on him.
The ref's trying to break Angle. And Guerrero with the title. Chavo Guerrero to the back of Benoit.
Yeah, Chavo's definitely a very underrated wrestler throughout time.
Yeah, he is.
And Chavo just throws the belt at Angle. So now Angle's got the belt in his hand, and Benoit thinks that he hit him with the belt. I always enjoyed the tag teams that were, they weren't necessarily buddies. I like that dynamic. Ray comes in and it's a drop kick on the back of Benoit, knocking him into Angle. Angle out of the ring, a baseball slide to Chavo, turns into a head scissors down the middle of the ramp, leaves Edge and Benoit in the middle of the ring. And a nice reversal. And into a spear. Edge was looking... that was the Edge-O-Matic, right? That's what he called that.
Was it that or the execution?
Or the execution. Something. He went for that. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what we're talking about. Benoit gets out of it, throws him against the ropes. Edge hits a spear for the 3, and now Angle and Benoit beating up on Mysterio and Edge. All in all, I think a really good match here. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I want to give it a 4, but man, the ending, like all of those spots at the ending, really just give it a great end to the match. And then I think like these spots after the match too, kind of add to it and just add to all the dynamics. There's so many moving parts between these 6 men, with Benoit and Angle not being on the same page,
right?
and the tag titles being involved.
No, this was the elimination match. That's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're still in this match.
So now it's the Guerreros and Edge and Mysterio.
Yeah, well, that kind of ruins that spot of the frog splash / diving headbutt for the save.
Yeah, that wasn't the best psychology. I don't know. I mean, in Guerrero's competitive ways, it was. That didn't really work.
Well, shit, I've already given my match rating. The match isn't even over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll probably stay at a 3.5-ish mark for me. But to me, Eddie Guerrero was so fluid in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was fantastic. But that would end that one, and I mean, we basically, we're at a 3.5 each, probably.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a 3.5.
And then the girls ended up winning that match, and you got then the ending here. But then you got Papa Pump, or Scott Steiner, I suppose.
Right.
Would come out. Oh, that's right. Eddie Guerrero hit the submission on Ray, which was a rare finish by Guerrero.
Absolutely. The lasso from El Paso.
So the
I always liked that move. I always thought that was a good move.
Too. The Guerreros win, and I think they become face after that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if this was before or after Eddie's kind of slump.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie had that slump there for a while. Shout out to Chris Nowinski. The only Harvard... Well, I don't know if he's the only Harvard graduate at this point. I feel like somebody else came with that whole gimmick, but the first Harvard graduate to be a WWE wrestler. He is probably not well remembered, but still very involved with the product as some type of neuro specialist with the head, and has helped them out a lot with concussions and things like that, the protocol for dealing with the head trauma for guys. He's actually a really good doctor, and working with WWE over the last 10 years or so in that regard, which I think is awesome. Chair shots to the head look great, but I think we all know what they do to people.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen countless interviews with McFoley. He... I think he's an advocate now for making sure those don't happen anymore, because he took probably more than anybody over their career.
He took more than anybody in one match.
Yeah.
Against
The Rock.
Yeah, at the Royal Rumble. Man, that was bad.
That was brutal.
Especially after watching the what was the name of that movie?
Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat, and his family was there for it, and that was awful. Very brutal.
And they asked him if he told his family about it, and he said no. Which, I think he said something about if he did, they wouldn't let him do it. So, I don't know. I mean, McFoley's McFoley. But now you got Scott Steiner in the ring.
And this is his debut with the company.
Yeah.
So this is like your second big WCW star, I think, really. Post NWO and all of that. And I think at this point, everybody's fizzled out from the NWO already.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Hall's definitely been fired from the company. I think Kevin Nash got hurt pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then other than really Hogan, they have Steiner just take punches from Matt Hardy and no-sells them. He's just beating the hell out of Nowinski and Hardy. Hardy joined basically to team up with him to get heat from the New York crowd to bring in Steiner. And you know, obviously this would not end very well. Steiner, to me, has always been such an odd, like, I don't know. I never took him as a top star.
No.
Like, even as a kid, I never really took him as a top star. I don't know. He had the opportunity, possibly, but...
Well, he had that run in TNA.
Yeah, after this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at all those roids.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a little bit
Jesus.
before steroid tests were mandatory. And
he just
WWE.
launched Matt Hardy out of the ring at Nowinski and does some push-ups in the ring. And so...
And that was that.
That was that. It got a big pop, though, from the crowd. Other than that, we got a couple of interviews to finish off the show with HBK. Of course, you know, this is still kind of part of his, you know, coming home and return. Interview with Triple H, Eric Bischoff showing off the Elimination Chamber. Get a nice performance from Saliva. They did Jericho's entrance music right. I forgot about that. So this final match, of course, the first Elimination Chamber of all time. You've got HBK returning. This was his first like match back, I think.
It was.
Of course, he had that non-sanctioned match with Triple H. I want to say they had one other match in between there, before the Chamber. But before this match, like, I don't think anyone was actually sold on a return of HBK. You know, like backstage and stuff like that. I don't think that it was expected of him to work full time again. Ever.
No, I don't think it was either. And honestly, I don't think he thought it was either.
And what a resurgence, man! I think, you know, obviously us growing up the time that we did, we definitely remember this HBK more than we remember Attitude Era, Shawn Michaels, and before. And I think, like, for guys our age and wrestling fans our age, we don't, you know, maybe if you're a little bit older, you have a, you know, bad memory of Shawn Michaels, of the, you know, lost my smile, never dropped a title, and, you know, things like that, and the Montreal Screwjob, of course.
Being a massive prick.
Right, and you know, big backstage politicker, and so I think we have a different viewing of Shawn Michaels for sure.
Yeah, I think we do. And I mean, at the same time, though, I think Triple H kind of filled those shoes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And not with the drugs or anything like that, but...
with the backstage politics,
right.
Very much so.
I mean, Triple H has lost maybe 20 matches in his whole WWE run of, 15 years.
Right. Well, yeah, of the last, 15 years or so.
I mean, when you marry the boss's daughter, it's probably what you get, but...
Yeah, once he was the game and, it was... Because this is really the era of, the game. I mean, this is right before Evolution. They're getting ready to put Evolution together. And, we all know what that did.
And not to say that Triple H isn't a fantastic wrestler. He sure is.
Absolutely.
But, he got more than he probably needed. But Rob Van Dam, again, another guy who's probably way lower on the list than he should be, wrestling-wise. And we're talking top 15 guy. To me.
Absolutely. Mr. Monday Night, the whole effing show. Rob Van Dam, man. And, if Rob Van Dam wrestled today, he would be that much greater.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not, just because a lot of guys have adopted a lot of his styles and things like that. There's a lot of high flying, a lot of spot fest, a lot of, whatever. But just as in, because, he only smoked weed.
Yeah.
He was never some drug addict, but he definitely in this time.
Well, he's come out and said he struggled with alcoholism.
Oh, okay, I believe that
quite a bit.
But when he got popped with WWE, it was for weed with when he had the ECW and WWE championship, and that's the biggest missed opportunity of his career. that definitely would put him, I think, in that list that you're talking about. But yeah, absolutely, one of the best wrestlers of all time, I think. He's definitely right up there. And even just how he, this is the first time that anybody's seen the structure. This is the first time anybody's worked to the structure.
Right.
And to have the match that Rob Van Dam did, I think that he somewhat kind of stole the show in this. And especially when you think of, I know the wrestling world and video games are definitely, a big, synonymous with each other. Just even in the video game. Every cool feature was what Rob Van Dam did in this match.
Right.
Climbing the side of the wall, jumping on the top of the pod. I mean, this is very early in the match, and we've already seen him at the top of the pod, and a cool spot where Jericho pulls his foot down, and RVD and Triple H start this match off. I think they started off real well. Triple H is already bleeding at this point when entrant number 3 is coming in. It ends up being Jericho.
This Jericho, I think, was trying to figure out who Chris Jericho was. Obviously, he had been the Undisputed Champion, and he had a good run in the height of the Attitude Era. But to me, I think he was trying to refine who Chris Jericho was during this time. His character was kind of bland. Didn't really have a whole lot of who we know as Chris Jericho of now. Just kind of so-so. And he teamed with, Christian and, Tess, and were the Un-Americans.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, definitely a culmination of the Jericho character at this point, of just like the young WCW Jericho to the Attitude Era Jericho, and now into this. I guess at this point we're, full-fledged into the Ruthless Aggression era, or right around that time at least. And I think you're right. Jericho was definitely in a odd spot that he wasn't. It wasn't clear exactly what his character was, and I think definitely the company didn't know what they wanted to do with him. Do they want him to be, a top star? Is he a mid-carder? Where does he kind of rank with everything? And I think this match is, every time I watch this match, I think about how interesting the people that are in this match. Because when you really look at this match, I mean, there's only 2 top stars in the match, I think. When you talk about Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and then even when you look at Shawn Michaels, this is his, return to the WWE.
Well, I think the biggest guy would have been Kane.
Star power-wise, though?
Yeah, well,
other than those 2?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Other than those 2, I mean...
Kane or Jericho?
Yeah.
Just because of the Undisputed run. I know, like, we were just talking about kind of where his character's at the moment, but, just based off of that merit, I think him and Kane, are probably the next 2. Booker T, maybe, but...
Booker T wasn't there yet.
Yeah, well, he hadn't done anything in WWE yet, like, at all. He had won the world title in WCW 5 times, but, he had never done anything in WWE. So, I mean, it is kind of like, I don't want to say hard to take him serious, but kind of hard to take him serious in this setting of, it's just surprising of all of the stars that they have. And I guess thinking off the top of my head, though, I mean, who else would be in this match? Because I can't think of anybody bigger. Because, they've got the brand split. Undertaker's on SmackDown. I don't know if Hogan was really still... And if anything, he's on SmackDown, probably. Because he had the whole storyline with McMahon and, when he was Mr. America for a couple of weeks. And
yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, I remember... Well, I think Hogan's biggest part was when he was battling for the Undisputed title. And that was a year before this. With...
Triple H and Undertaker.
Triple H and Undertaker, yeah.
And that was Hogan's last title run. So throughout this match, I think one of the biggest things, and me growing up, Triple H was my favorite wrestler, especially around this time. And I don't know what this says about me. Take it for what you will, if you're a wrestling fan. But Goldberg was my guy in WCW, and then the transition to WWE and watching the WWE product closer and stuff. Triple H was definitely my favorite wrestler, and even heel Triple H. I always liked Triple H. I don't know if it was the pedigree or what it exactly was about him. Honestly, I think I watched his return at MSG Live.
Right.
On Monday Night Raw, and I think from then on out, I was sold on Triple H. But
right.
One of the biggest things that happens in this match is Rob Van Dam goes to the top pod and hits that 5-star frog splash. And in the midst of all that, his leg lands straight on Triple H's throat, crushing his trachea in the match. And he continues throughout the match and finishes the match. He's one of the last two with Shawn Michaels. And especially as a kid, I thought that was just insane.
Well, I think Triple H is insane. I mean, he wrestled that whole match with the torn quad.
That was another one. Between all of that, the culmination of all that, I think that's why he was definitely my favorite. And that was a match against Jericho. Or was it a tag team match?
It was a tag match when he and Austin were a team.
Right. I think he was facing Jericho on The Rock, maybe?
Maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah. But we went ahead a little bit. This is the final three, Michaels, Triple H, and Jericho. I guess that's fitting for them to finish it.
Yeah.
I think kind of, the three... I don't know, the three better wrestlers out of them, and probably the three best storytellers.
Absolutely, and man, Jericho's in-ring work is something magnificent, I think. I mean, really, Jericho is such an amazing wrestling mind, too, and I think that, like we were talking about a little bit ago, about him kind of searching for his character and stuff, I think that he really reached the apex of his career when he came back.
Right.
With the short hair, and I think that was such a... he finally figured out of, something different to do, and then from then on really has just evolved from there and just become so great. Going through the, Save Us period, Y2J, The List, that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Now in AEW with the whole Le Champion, and...
Shawn Michaels putting on the walls of Jericho and Jericho. Triple H ends it with a DDT. Yeah, I think Chris Jericho's, and this is probably his third or fourth act at this point, but, because he went to New Japan.
Right.
And then now he's in AEW, which I like him in AEW. I think the Inner Circle is a great idea. I'm not really sure where they're going to go with it from here, but it was a good idea. And I think he was talking about it a couple weeks ago, and he said he's going to run with it as long as he can, and maybe turn him face and maybe get, a different heel faction in there to try and spice it up a little bit. And, because AEW can easily fall into that TNA, WCW hole where, you have stories and you have former wrestlers and you just kind of fall into that, lull of you run out of stories, or you let people, tell their own stories, and you pay the other people too much, and you just kind of fall into that lull of now you can't get out of it.
Yeah. And I think that they're definitely still in the midst of finding legitimacy, essentially, in the wrestling game. I think that they're definitely legit, but, just I don't know, when you watch WWE, there's a certain feel to it, for sure. And especially now being in such a weird time. I mean, it's a weird wrestling world. And with no crowd and stuff. Man, I almost... I watched Impact a week or two ago, and I forgot how weird it was to not have a crowd. Because at least in the Thunderdome, there's...
Right.
Somewhat... definitely the feel of a crowd.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels eliminating Chris Jericho, so we're down to 2 with the Sweet Chin music. And everybody's bloodied.
And this was, it had to be, I think it had to be these 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How do you feel about blading? I know this is a definite, big issue in wrestling, and definitely there's 2 sides to it, and you're on one side or the other.
I mean, honestly, for just a physical standpoint, I think it's fine. I mean, if you're trying to bust someone open purposely, that's very hard to do.
You're talking about doing it the hard way.
Yeah. That's why it's called the hard way.
Right, absolutely.
And that's a lot more physical punishment to your head. And I think it avoids a lot of that, and blading is more controllable than natural bleeding. So,
I almost disagree with you there just because of the Eddie Guerrero. I can't think of the pay-per-view, but where he wins the WWE Championship over JBL, and he blades and he hits a vein.
Match?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to know where you're at.
I mean, and that's true.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not an easy task to ask a guy in the middle of a match to, find time to, you got to do it quick, you got to do it discreet. There's definitely a lot of variables when it comes to blading, but I feel like doing it the hard way is probably not a good idea. I think the 2 times that Brock has done it in the last few years, it is very effective. Because it definitely paints a crazy picture.
Well, I mean, the only guy you're going to get to do it the hard way without a second thought is probably Brock Lesnar.
Right.
I mean, maybe an Orton, maybe a little bit of an older guy. I don't think you're going to get
somebody that's confident that they can, bust you open.
I don't think you're going to get any of these young guys to do it.
But I don't think you should. I think that's a thing for Brock. I mean, just a legitimizer. But I definitely think when it comes to blading, I don't like that there's no blading anymore at all. I think there's definitely some times that really call for it.
In the Hell in the Cell match.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, absolutely. I think it would have been great to see color in that match with.
I know it would have been cool to see, even Bayley or Sasha, and then there's the.
Absolutely.
I think we're at the finish here. They counter back and forth. Oh no, Triple H hits the pedigree. That's right.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels tuned up the band, went for Sweet Chin. Triple H caught it, threw him around, hit the pedigree. Yeah, I think we are right here at the finish of this match. Great finish. And a great match. Michaels hits his comeback, hits the Sweet Chin music, and we're going to get a 3 count here. Shawn Michaels returns to glory with the World Heavyweight Championship reign.
And the crowd goes wild.
Yeah. Definitely a huge pop from MSG. Michaels is on the canvas, crying, it looks like. And I mean, what an emotional story, because really this is the culmination right here. You can talk about the SummerSlam match that they had. Like I said, I think they had one more match in between here. But this was like the first big, and the confetti.
I think they had a 3 stages match.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was the unsanctioned match, then they had the 3 stages of the Hell match, and then we got here. I think the confetti was a wonderful touch. I think that was smart. It made the moment feel even bigger than what it already was. And I think on the video game, Here Comes the Pain, when you win the Elimination Chamber, I kind of feel like I remember confetti coming down on that too.
Yeah, I think there was. I don't know.
But like I said, I think just a really good touch, honestly, with the confetti here. And, you know, like, this goes back to somewhat finishing a story of, you know, the back problem. Of course, Undertaker launching him over the ropes onto the edge of the casket in their casket match in the 97, 98 Royal Rumble?
Yeah,
98.
something like that, yeah.
And then thus ending his career, man. And that's one WrestleMania 14. If you go back and watch that match, I feel like that match is so kind of hard to watch because you can just tell how much pain he's in. You know, he's constantly just holding his back. And,
yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. I mean, it was a good WrestleMania. I liked WrestleMania 14 because that was Kane Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a great match too. But I mean, as Survivor Series wraps up, obviously it's one of the more favorite Survivor Series.
Same.
As a whole, out of 10, I mean, it's probably a 7. I don't think there were any terrible matches.
What about the Elimination Chamber match? I'm going to give the Elimination Chamber match a 4. I think the improvisation, because Kane came out early.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a good job with that. I think the whole match was just done really well. Shawn Michaels winning was the icing on the cake, and I think you got a really really excellent match.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4. I'd give it a 4. I mean, there are a couple of things that keep it from being a 5 out of 5. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to not give it at least a 4, if not a 4.5. I think the only thing you'd probably do different is more destruction than they did. Just basically tear it up and tear it down. That would probably give it a 5 for me. But overall, yeah, I mean, like I said, that 2002 Survivor Series is 7 out of 10.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. And I think that might be some nostalgia on top of that. But I think with the booking through the night, I think it was a good start. Just to kind of get the crowd, you know, going with the table match with Hardy and the Dudleys against 3 Minute Warning. I think then you keep it really going with the Kidman and Noble match. And I think directly after that was the Women's Championship match.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to come out of the gates with those 3 matches, I think was very, very smart.
Right.
Excellent. The Big Show Lesnar match, I mean, it wasn't too much of a match, but, you know, the character work we got in it and the storytelling was great. Then transitioning from that to the Triple Threat Tag Team match and the SmackDown 6. I think that all in all, it was a really wonderful show. Well, I think that's pretty much it. A very long Wrestling with Kayfabe. This go around about an hour and a half. If you stuck with us, we really appreciate it. Let us know if you guys like this style and us going back and revisiting pay-per-views. Let us know what you want to hear on the show. Of course, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere you can find a podcast. Wrestling with Kayfabe is there. You can also find us on Instagram at Wrestling with Kayfabe. For DEJ and Papa Schro, we are out of here.